Delvena, help. Your brain love really needs to be felt. Turn me on, don't make me feel on myself. Brain food, brain sleep, neurology health. Brain love on me. I need you to assess, diagnose, and treat. Reveal what's underneath. Some brain love will give me peace. Prescribe me some doc. Ooh, baby. Brain love on me. Brain love. Yes. Brain love. Yes. Brain love.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Delvena, the Queen of Brain Love. Are you ready to take the couch? Tonight, we're having another one of our in-person Brain Love podcast seminars. We are chatting it up about alternative health. We're at the LA Lee Mizell Center inside of the historic Sistrunks YMCA inside of the Black Box Theater. You'll hear from experts in all different fields of alternative health. We have someone on sound therapy. Also, we're talking about medicinal cannabis. We're talking about ketamine infusions, as well as chiropractic medicine. I bet you didn't expect that one. They're unconventional and they're not traditional, so please join us on the couch. Are you ready to take the couch? I would like for you guys to meet Alicia Hugh Fisher, a student of shamanic beekeeping. Alicia completed a natural beekeeping apprenticeship and works with local beekeepers to find bees new homes through hive removals and practices holistic beekeeping methods. Alicia studied at the Sacred Trust, where she trained in the path of pollen, a European shamanic beekeeping lineage. Guys, meet Alicia Hugh Fisher. I've never ever heard of beehive therapy, so I thought she was perfect for tonight. Alicia, what is beehive therapy?
So beehive therapy is also known as apitherapy, api meaning or api meaning bee in Latin. It's actually a very ancient therapy or modality. So the Egyptians were actually the first known beekeepers, ancient Greeks, and in ancient China, bee medicine has always been a part of their culture. And so apitherapy, in today's time, some people may have heard of bee sting therapy, which is used for arthritis or for Lyme disease. There's a company called Heal Hive that specializes in that. And it's actually been theorized that acupuncture was derived from actual apitherapy. But how I work with it is I love bees. For another time, they saved my life. And when I first learned about them, I became fascinated by them. And I got into the medicine making of it. So what apitherapy really is just taking whatever is from the hive and using it as medicine, and everything in a hive is medicine. So it could be honey used for embalming. The Egyptians used to use honey to embalm the dead. Honey actually has been used in 500 of the 900, I think, papyri medical records of the Egyptians. 500 formulas have been found of the 900 there. Propolis is actually a medicine from the hive where the bees create tree sap, and they envelope the hive with it. It's a sticky substance. Propolis means before the city or to defend the city. And so a lot of beekeepers are not aware of the medicinal qualities of this product. They actually throw it away. And I'm like, don't do that. This is so medicinal. And it's really folk medicine. So simple people, country people, everyone had a beehive in their backyard back in the day. And we would learn from the bees. And so we would take the propolis can be extracted just with vodka, distilled, and used as a tincture. I use it for bleeding gums. I put it in balms or salves for, it's like the nature's Neosporin, as I call it, in toothpaste, for throat sores. And as I mentioned, bee sting therapy. And then there's also honey. So honey can last. They found honey in Egyptian tombs that were up to 3 years old and 3,000 years old, and it can be used still. Like, it's still very good. It's used as a preservative. It's also good for skincare. If you ever get a sunburn or if dry skin, just mix a little honey with egg whites. The best face mask ever. So
new for me. That filled in an information gap. So new news for you guys too. So I bet you all see honey in a different way. I'm definitely viewing honey differently. I love natural honey, but never smeared it on my body. But I'll try that.
you should.
Some of you had a bad thought.
I mean, that too. But
give it up for Alicia Hugh, guys. All right, please join us on the panel. Next up is Dr. Randall Thompson. Meet Dr. Randall Thompson, the son of a chiropractor who attended Palmer Chiropractic College in Iowa. He is the owner of Miami Spine Clinic located in Miami, 786-661-0906.
I've been in this game for years. My hands is
This is
mechanical.
hilarious.
There's rules to this game. I made you a manual, a step-by-step
I'm sorry,
process,
can you
no
pause it for a
nonsense.
second?
Get these woes up
I
off your
I
conscience.
cannot
Number one,
just, I have to pause. Can we rewind? Did you guys see the title of this video? The 5 Back Commandments. Now, I don't know if all of you are aware of where this track came from and the original name of the original song, but so this is his rendition of Biggie Smalls. It's 50 years of hip hop. This is the anniversary of hip hop, so I thought I would interject that. But the 5 Back Commandments. Go to his Instagram page, please. This guy's hilarious. Okay, go ahead and press play.
my hands is mechanical. There's rules to this game. I made you a manual, a step-by-step process, no nonsense. Get these woes up off your conscience. Number one, never lift with your back, son. Use your legs or you might crack something. Number two, never let your friends adjust you. Might get hurt, that'll be stressful. They might make mistakes, that's totally preventable. You should always go and see a medical professional. 3, this one's complicated, you see. Never let a middleman help you out for a fee. Number 4, I know you heard this before. They hit you from behind, you call Miami Spine. This game can't be cold-blooded. Rick James, come see us, feel well, kick pain, Cinco. This one seems simple. See a doctor first and ignore all the jingles. Bingo. And I hope you understand it. We call these the 5 Back Commandments. What?
Shout out to your hype man in the video. That was Puffy, right? He was supposed to be Puffy.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So, Dr. T, how are we affected when our bodies are not aligned?
So when your body is not aligned, it could be different from each individual. So any chronic issue, even stress, can definitely cause issues. In chiropractic school, they teach us about the 3 T's: thoughts, trauma, and toxins. These are the things that cause all, if not most, illnesses. So we try to help our patients with each of those individual issues. And let's say, do you have any issues right now, Dr. Delvena?
Well, yeah, I got a few issues.
A few issues? So think about those issues that you may have. Anybody in this audience, I see these young ladies in front of me right now. All of them are crossing their legs, right? So crossing their legs can also lead to an alignment or misalignment, right? So this can also lead to back issues.
Uncross your legs, people. Uncross your Dr. Fumis, uncross your legs.
Things like high heels can lead to back issues because when we walk, we're supposed to actually let the heel hit the ground first. So if a woman wears high heels, anybody wants to wear high heels nowadays.
I got on sneakers.
I see you. So if you walk with high heels, you actually can't walk right. So then you will have improper biomechanics, which will lead to back pain and knee pain and other issues.
Thank you. All right, we're going to keep it rolling. Dr. Hervé Damas. Dr. Hervé Damas is an NFL player turned licensed MD. After an injury forced him out of the Buffalo Bills, Dr. Damas watched as his friends in the league began to face medical issues ranging from chronic pain to CTE. It was an illness in the family, however, that finally pushed him to pursue medicine, and eventually he became a radiologist in Miami. Over time, he began to question the exclusion of promising natural medicines such as cannabis and CBD, and in 2017, he launched Dr. Damas CBD. Since then, he has treated hundreds of patients with cannabis and hemp. Yay! Meet Dr. Damas, y'all.
Try to get IV Tylenol for patients to help them with their pain. And they would be on my ass about that. I would get calls from the pharmacies like, you can't order this. Why? Because of the cost. Like, no, we can better handle their pain with the opiates. And I'd be like, well, the patient doesn't want that. And they're like, well, homeboy, you better tell them that that's the choices. I mean, and that was the situation. Here you are as a resident, you're the person really seeing these people all the time. Your attendings don't really see them that often. And you would just be like, okay, you're part of the system at that point. right? You're part of the machine, which is like, hey, this is what we do. You're going to get discharged. Here's your prescription for your Percocets, right? Like, I don't even write that. That discharge order set right there, boom, and it goes out.
Yay, meet Dr. Damas, y'all. So, you've been featured as a keynote speaker at events all across the country. You were once a professional athlete. You got banged up pretty good, sustained a bunch of injuries. And medicinal cannabis, that was our podcast. You explained to me that it helped you significantly. Can you explain to the audience why medicinal cannabis is effective for pain control?
Yeah, so actually one of the primary reasons, depending on the demographic group, that people present to the physician is for pain, right? Something's bothering you, you can't take it anymore, and you're like, man, I tried everything, I need to go see a professional. So you come in for pain. So the different ways that your body processes pain, and actually pain has become one of our vital signs, right? You go to the hospital, and it's like your blood pressure, your heart rate, temperature, pain is part of that. It's really contributes significantly to morbidity, which is your illness, overall wellness or state of being. And so traditionally we'll give medications, analgesia, that work on different pathways. You have like NSAIDs like ibuprofen, Tylenol, and you have the stronger stuff, which we can't stand, which are opiates, right? And it's how your body perceives that pain and how that pain signals transmitted to you, right? So you have transmitters all throughout your body. You have in your skin, there are pain transmitters, right? There's actual chemicals. There's something, for example, called substance P, which is like, that's a pain transmitter. Then you have your opioid receptors, which have diminished that. And then your nervous system transmits the signals as well. So there's all these different ways that your body actually processes and then relays that message to your body. And what cannabis can do is along those pathways either diminish the intensity of the signal or, depending on what you're using, kind of cut it off altogether, right? So for example, we can use something that we can look at opioids, right? So you have different classes of opioid receptors in your body, right? Mu, delta, tau, and all those things, when you take different classes of opioids, they hit those receptors differently. By doing that, it decreases the pain signal that your brain receives. So now, although the issue, you broke your leg is still broken, you don't feel it because the signal from those receptors is being blocked by these medications. Cannabis can do that as well. And there's other ways that it can do, for example, your perception of it, right? Like that mind over body kind of thing. Sometimes you don't look at it, it doesn't hurt, and then the moment you look at it, you're like, ah, right? So similar thing is that some medications, class of medications, actually alter the way your body perceives the pain so that you are still getting the pain signal, but when it gets to your brain, you're kind of like, yeah, I know there's something going on, but it's not bothering me as much as it should be, right? So there's that, and like I said, there's some that it completely stops it altogether, and then there's the nervous signal. So your nerves can relay all types of signals, pleasure, pain, vibrational things, proprioception, like a whole bunch of things. But for the pain signals, you can also, cannabinoids are released at your nerve terminals, your junctions, where the nerves go from one to the other. That's called a synapse in between those. That's where cannabinoids are produced and released. And in that is where these relays, these messages are going from one to another, kind of like a telephone pole when you see like one thing connect to the other. And so in that space, cannabinoids can also decrease or diminish the intensity of the nervous signal. So basically interrupting the message that's going from there. And it's able to do all of this stuff with one really important thing is the absence of overdose potential. That's a really important thing, right? So we're looking to help people. How can we help people without putting them at risk for really deleterious or adverse outcomes?
And say that again, prevention of?
Adverse outcomes, right? Overdose.
Yeah, so that's important. Do we make endogenous or natural cannabinoid?
Yes, we do. So wonderful thing. Here's a bit of trivia for you. So you all heard the war on drugs, right? So part of that, there was a large amount of government funding that was spent to prove the theories they had about the dangers of cannabis. And by researching that, The researchers at UCLA in the 80s, late 80s, found out that we actually produce cannabinoids in our body. Cannabinoids are a set of molecules that our body actually makes. When we consume marijuana or CBD, we're consuming cannabinoids, but those are phytocannabinoids, which are made by the plants, but what we make are called endocannabinoids. So our body makes them, and we make them in a number of different situations.
Did you guys know that? Who didn't know? Raise your hand if you did not know that. Yeah. All right. Thanks for filling in that information gap. Please welcome to the stage our second medicinal cannabis specialist and certifier, Dr. Michael J. McKenzie, who is a primary care physician at Hallandale Medical Center in Hallandale Beach, Florida. He is a graduate of Universidad School of Medicine in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. He has his MD degree. He completed his residency in family medicine at the University of Oklahoma and is board certified in family medicine. Dr. McKenzie is a very social person who's involved with legislation, especially involving medicinal cannabis. And he is a jokester. He posted this picture on his Instagram page. It states, "Devotional to start the weekend right. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, please bless this food we about to tear up. At the same time, please bless the HCTZ, Norvasc, Metformin, and Crestor we will have to consume after this blessed meal." You see Wendy's there, the Chicken Man, and McDonald's. Dr. McKenzie is a family practice physician. He is also a certified medicinal cannabis, well, I should say a medicinal cannabis certifier, because you always correct folks when they say you can prescribe cannabis. So these docs don't prescribe cannabis, they are medicinal cannabis.
It's a recommendation. Just to give you a little trivia, there is only one individual in the entire United States of America of 300 million people that has an actual prescription for cannabis.
Who is that?
His name is Irvin Rosenfeld. He's actually a federal cannabis patient, and he's been enrolled in the Compassionate Investigational New Drug Program since 1982. And as a result, he receives about 300 cigarettes from the U.S. government every month since 1982. The cannabis that he receives is grown on the campus of the University of Mississippi in the U.S. government's complex there, shipped to Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina Research Triangle, where it's rolled up into cigarettes, put into canisters, then shipped to University of Miami, where there are 2 physicians who have Schedule I privileges under DEA license, who sign off on his prescription, and he picks it up.
Well, okay then. So your claim to fame is that you were one of the first physicians in Florida to become certified to recommend cannabinoids in 2015, based on Florida's newly passed Compassionate Medical Cannabis Act of 2014. Why did it take so long for Florida to pass this law?
The number one reason was the opposition. The opposition to cannabis liberalization is well-moneyed, well-funded, and has a lot of lobbyists in different levels in government.
All right, next up we have Sonia Cato. Sonia Cato moved to South Florida in 1997 from Iowa. She discovered the benefits that ketamine provides for patients who suffer from mental illness, and she and her partner, Callie, set out to make it available for the community.
Growing research suggests psychedelics could be a breakthrough cure for some mental health disorders.
Drugs once associated with so-called bad trips are providing life-saving benefits for patients right here in South Florida. CBS 4's Joan Murray reports.
Say the word psychedelics and it brings to mind images of a 60s mind-bending trip.
Let's get you nice and warm.
But there's a new face to this old class of drugs with a sometimes controversial past. Doctors are finding psychedelics relieve the purple haze of mental health problems crushing so many people.
You're able to work through the cause of your depression.
Most of these psychedelic compounds right now have incredible safety profiles.
Be a real breakthrough to help with the mental health crisis.
Welcome, Sonia.
Thank
Sonia
you.
has a focus on increasing awareness of the benefits of low-dose ketamine for mental health and avidly stresses the importance of integration and journaling as a way to solidify and expand the relief of ketamine. How is journaling helpful?
It is really a tool to get outside of your head. You know, we talk to ourselves 24/7, 365. It is the person we talk to the most, and we are so evil to ourselves. The things that you say to yourselves, you would never say to a loved one. And really, sometimes the stress and anxiety and things that you're going through, when you get it out on paper and you can actually read what you're writing and what your thought processes are, the things that you can work through is just so transformational. It's difficult for me to journal. I coach all my patients to journal, and I struggle with it myself, but when I actually do journal, I actually have problem solving. I go through, it's beautiful.
Why do you struggle with it?
I have accountability issues. I know what works, but when going through, I actually have to be struggling, really just struggling and being like, okay, let me do what I tell my patients to do. And then perfect solution, So I actually need to start scheduling my journaling.
Okay, self-awareness is where we
Yes,
start.
yes.
Self-awareness. Thank you, Sonia.
You're welcome.
Callie Reed. Callie Reed is a multifaceted professional and lives her life to the fullest. I know she does. And she will remain young forever. Callie was born in Mongolia and immigrated to the U.S. in 2000 at the age of 15. She graduated with a bachelor's in nursing from the University of Wisconsin. She then worked in a medical ICU for 2 years, met her husband Britt, and moved to Florida. While working as a nurse, she developed an interest in anesthesiology and then decided to pursue her master's of nursing practice in anesthesia. She graduated from the Florida Gulf Coast University and eventually met Sonia Kato while working at Aventura Hospital. They bonded well and both had a desire to help other people and opened the Ketamine and Wellness Clinic of South Florida in Pompano Beach, and now have partnered to open the locations in Hallandale Beach and Miami Beach.
Thank you.
So what were you up to with the sexy walk and the white coat and stuff? What were you doing?
So we started to offer bioidentical hormone replacement, and that was one of the video Megan made. So I was just shaking my booty.
So hormone replacement is available also at your site.
Yeah. I just have to tell you guys, I'm coining a term says biohacking. I look better now than 10 years ago. Because all the stuff I'm doing and, learning, and it's been amazing.
So, little secret, these fillers and Botox and stuff, you're supposed to use them 20 years ago. Not now or not when you start getting wrinkles, right? That's what you taught me?
Preventative, yeah. I've been using Botox on myself. Botox Dysport since when I was 27. And I'm 39, and I think I look pretty good for my age. Nobody can tell my age.
Yes, you do. Clap it up. Yes.
And it's all about preventative. And my goal is always to make somebody look natural, not like the Boca ladies.
No Boca ladies in here, right? Any Boca ladies?
No, I haven't seen any Boca ladies. If I saw you, I'm like, oh yeah, who's your injector?
Thank you, Callie. Okay, join the panel, please. So last but not least, we have GP Mindy. GP Mindy is the interim executive director at FAMU's MARY's program, which stands for Medical Marijuana Education and Research Initiative. GP collaborates with the incredibly talented MARY team and a broad spectrum of internal and external stakeholders and partners to successfully execute MARY's statewide legislative mandate. GP is responsible for overseeing MARY's mission to educate Florida's rural, urban, and suburban populations about the medical and unlawful use of marijuana. Here's GP. All right, so we have the entire panel up here now, so we will start the panel discussion. But first, GP, I have a question for you. Please share how FAMU became the site of Mary.
Florida A&M University is historically known. I mean, it's the best HBCU.
Any FAMU graduates in here?
The best historically black college ever.
Are you a FAMU graduate, Dr. Thompson? Oh, okay. Any other FAMU
Go
graduates?
Rattlers. All right. So when the legislature thought about the issue of cannabis, I mean, for starters, there's a lot we know and there's a lot we don't know about cannabis. And Florida A&M is historically suited to handle highly politically sensitive, culturally sensitive issues. So cannabis fit naturally into our wheelhouse. And also when you think about the historical nature, I can't remember, one of the panelists was talking about the war on drugs. Damas was a year, okay. Dr. Damas talked about the war on drugs and the history of it and what it's done to a lot of black and brown communities. And so the legislature, the Florida legislature tasked Florida A&M University with educating Floridians about medical and unlawful use of marijuana. Not just medical, but also unlawful use. And unlawful use is not just the street marijuana use, but also the irresponsible use of medical marijuana. And a lot of people don't think about it, that medical marijuana recommended by a physician to a patient could be used irresponsibly. A lot of people throw parties after they get their medical marijuana gummies. Hey, I got gummies, everybody show up. That's irresponsible use, and that violates Florida law. And yeah,
Okay.
that's how Mary came to be housed at Florida A&M University, the unique role that we play in educating Floridians and, of course, Americans as a whole.
Thank you. So guys, each of you have a mic in your chair, so please ensure you have your mic and your mic is on. I'm going to Sonia and Callie first. What is the mechanism and how ketamine relieves stress, anxieties, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and sadness?
Hello? Oh, okay. So there are many reasons why ketamine is beneficial, and every person is going to have a different reason why they're having anxiety, depression, PTSD, trauma, just life stressors. Really what ketamine and really psychedelics is getting to the root cause. Right now, traditionally, we are very limited in the options of treatment options and medicines, and in all reality, we always want the simple answer, right? We just want a simple pill, give me a pill, make it go away, whatever's happening, and not actually deal with the real cause, and you have to do work. You have to actually discover and really go into what the root cause is. You don't have depression because of chemical imbalance. You have a depression because of life stressors that you've not been eating right, you're not sleeping right, you're maybe drinking too much alcohol or smoking too much cannabis or the wrong kind of cannabis or different drugs, then all of a sudden it's just covering it up and you're not actually dealing with what was the reason, which occurred 5 years ago with maybe a wrong spouse or a wrong job or a breakup or something traumatic. And with ketamine, it allows you, it's not a treatment in itself. It's not like you can come in and get a ketamine infusion and, oh, it's perfect, it's going to go away. No, you have to do the work along with it. You have to experience the infusion, go within your mind, actually discover the root cause, and then do the journaling, do the integration. We have integration specialists in office. If you're going to do a psychedelic like ketamine or others, and you're not going to do integration, then you don't even do the medicine. You have to work through with what comes up for you because it can also make things worse.
So this is not just about going into your office, sitting in a chair and getting this infusion and then everything is better.
No, that would be amazing.
Yeah,
that would be really nice.
So how long does it take for patients to respond to the ketamine infusions?
So Everybody varies. We started noticing the real change after third infusion. We usually recommend 6 infusion over 4 weeks. And third infusion, family, friends started to notice the difference. And fifth, sixth, the patients actually see the difference. Because when they usually come to us, they're kind of skeptical coming in because they tried therapy, they tried maybe possibly multiple medications and ECTs, TMS. So they come to us skeptical, and at fifth and sixth infusion, they start seeing the changes and they start believing.
So the fifth
So,
and sixth infusion is like week 2, or are we talking
it's
week 3?
Week 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 3, 4.
Okay, so about 3 weeks. Got it. Now, before I go to the next question, you used the term bad cannabis or bad marijuana. Yeah. You said different kinds, and I heard you say bad cannabis. Didn't she say bad? The wrong. Well, so
The wrong kind, because there's different variations, there's different
I
terpenes and
thought you
different.
said bad. I wanted
There's
to
no
ask
such thing
them
as bad
the-
cannabis.
well, so that was
there
a
can
que-
be. There can be.
That was a question for the medicinal cannabis specialist. What do you think she means by the wrong cannabis, so that the audience knows what is the wrong cannabis? Anyone can answer.
I'll chime in on this. Okay, what makes cannabis unique? Okay, compared to, let's say, ibuprofen. When I talk about ibuprofen, I'm only talking about one molecule. Ibuprofen, that's it. There's no variations, nothing like that. The only difference between, let's say, a Walgreens ibuprofen and Publix ibuprofen is maybe the binders, the fillers, the food coloring. But at the end of the day, you're dealing with one compound, one molecule. That's ibuprofen. Okay? However, cannabis is nothing like that. Okay? So when we look at the two fundamental characteristics of the plant, number one is what's called heterogeneity, which means there is no single solitary thing called cannabis. So the plant can represent any combination of 3 fundamental elements. Number one, cannabinoids like THC and CBD. These are the molecules, plant-based molecules that interact with our endocannabinoid system. All human beings, all mammals, even down to the sea squirt, have an endocannabinoid system. The only organisms that don't have one are insects. Okay, so the cannabinoids interact with our endocannabinoid system. The second element is what's called terpenes. Terpenes are organic compounds that give cannabis its unique smell. Because when you smell cannabis, you're smelling your terpenes. You are not smelling THC. THC is odorless. Okay? So the terpenes, they also work at the receptor site where the cannabinoids bind to, and they contribute to what is called the entourage effect. Okay? So different plants will have different sets of terpenes. And the terpenes do influence how it affects you. For example, there's a terpene called myrcene, which is found in mangoes and beer hops. And by the way, did you know that the beer hops plant is a genetic cousin to the cannabis plant? Okay?
I didn't know that.
Yes. So the terpenes, like say myrcene, contributes to a more sedative type of cannabis. So if you have somebody with, say, PTSD and need something that's more sedative in nature, you'd want something with a good amount of myrcene in it, okay? Whereas limonene, which is derived from, citrus fruits like lemons and limes and oranges, they have more of a stimulatory effect on the patient. So stimulating effect of limonene can make you feel a little anxious and sometimes paranoid, depending on how much limonene is present. And there's other terpenes as well, too, that have different types of effects in different combinations. Third element is flavonoids. Flavonoids give cannabis its color. The green or purple or pinkish, looking like Fruity Pebbles type of plant. That is the flavonoids. Flavonoids make apples red, oranges orange, lemons yellow. But they also act at the same receptor site as the terpenes and the cannabinoids, both major and minor. to produce a unique set of effects, which is the effects of the strains that you find in cannabis. So you can have 2 cannabis strains, both 16% THC, but can have 180-degree opposite effects. Why? Because of the terpene and the flavonoids and the minor cannabinoids present. Here's the deal, okay? If I change a terpene or change a flavonoid or change a ratio of a minor cannabinoid, I have a different product. Okay? So that's one of the big challenges when the pharmaceutical industry wants to make into a nice little pill that people take X amount of milligrams of that. But again, the heterogeneity of the plant precludes us from treating it as a single agent like you would ibuprofen or metformin.
Thank you, Dr. McKenzie. Woo! Clap it up for him,
was
please.
awesome.
That was
I love that.
comprehensive. Shout out to Hallandale Medical Center, which is that is where you can find Dr. McKenzie. Some of the Hallandale folks are here. Raise your hand.
My beloved squad.
Dr. Fumes, psychologist. Hello, yes. So thank you for that comprehensive answer. We have so many specialties here on stage. Anyone, this question is for anyone, how do you address concerns with your patients about the lack of scientific evidence for certain alternative health treatments? The lack of scientific evidence. So if someone says to you, I looked this up on the Mayo Clinic, I went to Johns Hopkins website, they said there's no evidence. How do you talk with your patient and encourage them to consider your modality? Yes, sir.
All right, so typically people may look up things about chiropractic and find some things that may cause harm, or they may run into their neurologist or orthopedic that may tell them not to come to the chiropractor. But they find some research, but the research is typically flawed. And I have to explain to the patients, yeah, a lot of people can make research, but who's paying for that research? Who's backing that research? I could make research that say chiropractic can make you 6'7". Of course, it's going to be backed by me, and of course, I'm going to be pushing it. And that's usually what's happening with the AMA and a lot of other medical companies that may put out things that may be against chiropractic and may be against some of the things that we can treat or do treat.
I can't be 6'7"?
Not today.
Ruin my night.
Why would in spirit?
IT.
So why would the AMA, Dr. McKenzie, I'll punt this to you and to you, the two medical doctors, Dr. Thomas, I'm sorry, you're Dr. Thompson, I'm Dr. Thomas, my bad. Dr. Thompson asserted that the AMA, the American Medical Association, may discourage patients from using alternative interventions. What's up with that? Why, Dr. Damas? Tell me.
Yeah.
I want to hear from Dr. Damas.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Dr.
All right.
McKenzie.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah, so first of all, the easiest solution, the easiest answer is follow the money, right? So you guys are all smart enough to realize that. It gets a little complicated when you get into the weeds, pardon the pun, understanding some of the mechanisms behind medical training and what's actually, so when he and I go to residency or we're in medical school, what we're being taught. For example, if we're in medical school, we're being taught this is the next drug that's here to treat this, whatever the new diabetes drug is, right? So that research has been produced by a pharmaceutical, which then shoots it through an institution, an affiliated hospital, which then usually has some sort of cooperating partnership with the company, right? So then you do the research, you have access to the patients, and then you teach the upcoming doctors, this is what you're going to be using, right? This is what's going to happen. So then when we go through the system, this is what we're taught. Now, it behooves them to continue the things that they've invested in. And so when you get into other modalities or other practicalities or other ways that you can treat yourself, it's not beneficial, right? And I didn't fund it, like he said. So I didn't fund it. I'm not going to comment about it, or B, if it's going to take away from what I'm trying to do, then I'll find a way to disparage it. So that's one of the ways that, whether overtly or covertly, they discourage, the applications of some of the things that operate outside of their paradigms. And I'll let Dr. McKenzie finish off.
Thank you.
When my good fraternity brother, Dr. Damas, and myself, when we were in med school and in training, especially when everybody here in training. We were trained on, using these single molecular agents to treat certain diseases, or a combination of single approved agents, okay? So when we look at the whole evidence-based, Cochranian evidence-based, database, okay? All that is based on is single molecular agents, okay? And comparing this to another agent, or this versus placebo, and you using a fixed number of metrics to determine if it's effective or not, okay? The problem is when you're dealing with the plant, and like I said, if I change a terpene in something, or I have a different product. So when you doing comparisons of different evidence-based therapies, you're comparing a single entity versus another single entity, using a fixed number of metrics that you're shooting for, okay? It gets very complex when you're talking about cannabis, because cannabis cannot be isolated into a single molecule with a single fixed percentage of, let's say, THC, and you're going to get the results that you want, because the heterogeneity precludes us from treating as a single agent. And because we've been corn-fed on single molecular agents throughout our careers, that's why the whole cannabis issue is a tough nut to crack for a lot of people in the medical world.
Yep.
I will also add, there's a certain amount of hubris that comes along with Western medicine and large institutions in the belief in their own dogma and their own intelligence and ability to solve problems. And so sometimes it's self-defeating. It leads to a lot of overstepping one's bounds and disregard of other ideologies that may not be in lockstep. And in that, you do people a disservice, because you get really patriarchal in terms of what you think I know what's best for the patient, and what the patient asks for takes a secondary role. And so you take away the power from the patient or the human being and put it all in yourself and your system, which we know sometimes these systems become kind of like Frankenstein's monsters, and they get out of control for a number of reasons.
Well, doctors are God.
Dr. Thomas, if I may.
Yes, please.
I think this is where the integrity comes in the research process, where we have to conduct research with integrity and not fudge the data, like he alluded to. It is very true. I mean, there are conflicts. If a certain industry is funding the research, there's bias right there. Even though they'll want it to be, the bias not to be there, but the bias will be there because they funded it. I think there's an old saying that says, whoever pays the piper dictates the tune. So if a certain industry is funding the research, you want it to favor them. And so it is important that the research that is produced is peer-reviewed, such that it adds to the integrity of the process. When it comes to cannabis, like I stated earlier, there's a lot we know, but there's a lot we don't know. And that's why research needs to keep going, and we need to advance the research process and do it right.
And then we're also not talking about the fact that they're all Schedule 1, right? It's how can you research something? There's no extent of research because it's a Schedule 1. It's so difficult to even access it. And even with, luckily for ketamine, it has a medical use as an anesthetic, and we're using it off-label for mental health. But even the other psychedelics, they're all Schedule 1. Even when in the 80s, when Rick Doblin showed all the research of the benefits to mental health of MDMA for PTSD, showed it to the FDA, they refused and still scheduled it a 1. They appealed it, and they decided, no, we'll find a law, and they put it as a Schedule 1, and they've spent billions of dollars for the research. Ketamine, there's so much research, but it's, like we were talking about earlier, there's no long-term, studies being done because it's a generic medication. What pharmaceutical company is going to fund it? It's all going to have to be educational, like, Johns Hopkins and different UF, we're going to be doing a study, a longevity study for veterans for ketamine, but it's the Schedule 1 issue.
Right. Also, when people do research in the US, okay, the goal of the research is to have a patented product at the end of the rainbow so that you can make your money back on the money you put in to research it. No one's going to put money in to not get nothing back, you know?
Yep. So,
And that's the difference.
Okay.
That's the difference with why the Florida legislature established a program like Mary. We don't do research for patents. We do research to inform Floridians about what's out there, not to influence your decisions, but to help educate you so you could make informed decisions about what's best for you and your family. The good news about research and the Schedule 1 argument is that the federal government, I think, was it 2022 last year, President Biden signed into law, Congress passed the law, President Biden signed Medical Marijuana Research Act. That's a major first step. With that act, it opens up federal dollars for institutions to be able to do research. From what we know, and this is what we know, from the National Institutes of Drug Abuse, NIH, and other CDC and the rest of them, we know that cannabis is not good for the fetus, is not good for brain development up until the age of 25. So if someone is using cannabis, THC, is consuming THC or cannabis or marijuana in some form, whether medical or not, it impacts the brain. We know that. But that doesn't mean that doctors cannot recommend it when the benefits outweigh the risk. But with more research, we can learn more. What else do we know? What else don't we know? What do we think we know that we don't? There's a lot to learn, but that shouldn't stop us. It actually should make us more curious so we can learn more and educate ourselves more in order to make better informed decisions.
Thank you very much. You actually answered the next question I was sending over to you, and that is FAMU, Mary, the program, are you all doing research? And you just said you're doing research. It's not just about prevention and education.
No, it's not just about prevention and education. So we have a slogan: educate, learn, talk, and you've heard that over and over. And so we educate Floridians. We learn from your experiences. I'm sitting here. I'm learning from all of you. I'm learning from the panelists on what you're saying, and from your experiences, your encounters, and your engagement with your patients. I'm learning from that. I take that back, adapt our messaging, and say, okay, this is what people are interested in. We educate, we learn from each other, and we talk freely and frankly about it. Now, you guys are in South Florida. You're leaps and bounds ahead. Over there in Tallahassee, you guys are a different republic. We are still in the South, and marijuana is still a taboo in so many, enclaves. And so we're still a conservative society, and there's still a lot that we don't talk about openly. With Mary, the legislature has given us the ability to open up a forum for Floridians to talk about this freely and talk about it. I'm not saying come here and confess that, that you're, moving marijuana from Mexico. I don't want to know that. However, it is important that we learn. When we talk to people, for instance, a lot of people don't think about it. I have my medical marijuana card, and the doctor recommended marijuana, and I went to a legal MMTC and I bought my marijuana, medical marijuana, and I took it to the post office. That's federal property. If something happened there and they find it on me, it's a felony because it's federal property.
Just a reminder that
Same
cannabis
thing. Yes,
is still illegal federally.
It's still illegal federally. The same thing with Social Security office. Yep. People don't think about walking to Social Security office, and you have your medical marijuana, or crossing state lines.
Right.
Yeah. So let's switch gears for a second. This question is for anyone on the panel. What role do lifestyle factors play in alternative health, and how do they contribute to our overall well-being?
I'd like to speak into that.
Yes, ma'am.
So as a beekeeper, or what I I'm trying to rephrase as a bee steward. Just being connected to nature. Bees are nature's alchemists. And so observing them has me question, right? Like just the world around me. And this, to me, is alternative health. This is alternative medicine. A hive is a reflection of 5 miles of its surrounding land. And so just being outside nature, to me, has been the biggest healer. Just stepping outside, taking a few deep breaths. It's a very simple response, but it's actually very profound and has done wonders for me. And also, if you have the opportunity to breathe into a hive, that is actually very, very good for you.
Did you just say breathe into a hive?
Yes.
Who's ready to do that?
Not me.
Would you do that, Mrs. Love?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a thing. It's a thing. They have hive beds in Europe and Australia where hive
man.
houses and hives underneath, and you lie down and you can breathe in the air of the hive.
Oh, so the bees are not in there.
No. Or you could suit up and, yeah.
So I love the nature part of it. I love being outside. I love the ocean. I love mountains. I love all that stuff. What else would you guys add for the lifestyle? What lifestyle factors play a role in what?
Well, I know in my field, I have to be, well, I would expect to go into any practitioner's office and look at the person and be like, okay, well, I would like to look like them, someone like them, or they could lead me in some type of fashion. So in my field, we try to make sure we look the best we can. You got to be in shape. Like she said, she looks younger than ever before because she uses her product. So she's selling her own product through her lifestyle, you know.
Well, you're in shape because you got to crack all those backs.
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't show all the other videos. He has humongous people on the table, and he's picking them up and crack.
I got to lift up, you know.
You got to lift up. Let's do crack Dr. Damas real quick.
I got my man
Crack
6'7".
Dr. Damas.
My man 6'7"
Take off
right
the
here.
suit
It
jacket.
could be anybody, you know. So that's a part of it. Having good physical health and mental health. Mental health starts first, right? So
Right.
you got to come in there with the right attitude because when people come in, they're coming in with their problems. And you need to be able to not take it home, and you also need to be able to listen to them and be able to provide the right things to them because they come in sometimes, God knows what's going on with them. You ask a patient how they doing, they're like, not so good. I'm like, why? My dad died. I'm like, yo, then you gotta shift gears. You can't go into that joyous mode. You gotta get into more of an empathy and type of role, and you gotta deal with them that way.
So we mentioned journaling earlier, the health and nutrition, the physical fitness, being outdoors. Anything else anyone wants to add?
So I'd like to say also, nourish your body. Your body you only have one. And when you're exercising or when you're eating food, always think of nourishing, not just being full. When you look at choices of food at the restaurant, what's going to benefit me today and tomorrow? And when you're exercising, don't think of as, I have to exercise, I have to keep the weight off. It's actually about you're doing some exercise, moving your body because it's going to increase the endorphins in your system. It's going to nourish your body so you can live longer, healthier life.
Yeah. And so do people have to go to, there's a trainer in here. Is he still here? Stand up, sir. Would you guys go to him? Come out in the aisle, please. Come out in the aisle. Let them see you. Let them see you, sir. Yeah, go ahead and take the walk, baby. Walk, walk, walk. Walk, walk, walk. So I think people get intimidated. Oh, okay. I think we get intimidated when we see people like this and when we see someone like Dr. Thompson and Dr. Damas. And do we have to go to a personal fitness trainer to exercise and get our physical health? And what else? What can people do if they can't afford to go to a physical trainer, a physical fitness trainer?
There's tons of stuff they can do. I mean, walking, riding a bike, swimming, kayaking. There's tons of stuff we could do outside in Florida. There's actually even like on the beach, they got like free pull-up bars and stuff like that, rollerblading.
See, you still talking all this extra fitness pull-up bars.
No, there's something simple.
You got to start somewhere, But
We ain't starting with pull-ups, although I did do some pull-ups. Did you guys see my video on Instagram? I was doing pull-ups.
I know you can do some pull-ups now. Come on now.
Tell me the simple stuff, Sonia.
So there's simple stuff as far as, I call it habit stacking. So I started teaching because now we were helping patients like with weight loss as well. And you want to start pairing things that you always do, right? You always go to the bathroom, right? There's people that, oh, every time I have a drink, I have to have a cigarette. That's a habit stack, right? You do one thing, you do another. So I started teaching my patients, because they don't go to the gym yet, but how about every time you go to the bathroom, whether it's to wash your hands, go to the, go pee, whatnot, that you do 10 push-ups. If you can't do it against the floor, obviously that's kind of gross sometimes, but against the wall, or even against the sink, right? And
Or squats, right?
Or squats, and just do 10.
Who's laughing? Deb, is that you laughing? Oh, Amy, you don't want to do push-ups and squats in the bathroom?
Imagine how strong that you'll be. I mean, it's 10. You start with 5, and you don't think anything of it, but at the end of the day, you're doing 50 to 100 push-ups. Right? You're getting stronger, and then you're going through the bathroom door, and you stretch your chest. When we have people that age and you see their back start to curl, yes, some of them have, spinal issues, but for the most part, it's our chest muscles being tight and curving and strengthening, and you don't stretch, and so it starts to contract like this, and then your back starts to arch, and you age, and then all of a sudden you're walking like this, and it's preventable, just by stretching through a door like this.
Yeah.
I would add one thing I didn't hear anyone add, which is really important to me personally.
Laughter?
And I mentioned, well, obviously I like to have a good time, but it's a spiritual practice, which, I've been working on for myself for a long period of time. Patients come in, a lot of them come in looking for singular cures, like, hey, man, you got something that'll help me out like a magic pill. Kind of like, nah, I don't want to do that for you, because you might as well go somewhere else for this. But for me, getting myself right with who I am and what I feel about myself and my connection to my world and in my environment is really important, especially when sometimes the world can be very chaotic with all the things that we're involved with, we're doing professionally, personally, our aspirations, self-doubts, and all those things. And, finding something that gives me, or I find value in, find connection with, allows me to start my day. I start my day with prayers and meditations, and end my day like that throughout the day. I am doing that, and it gives me peace, right? It gives me strength. It allows me to stay, steadfast when things are tumultuous and there's turmoil around me. And it allows me to better focus my energies and my thoughts. So, I always tell people, if, you don't have to ascribe to a certain ideology, but the belief that you're part of something greater, has been beneficial to me. You may be agnostic, or you might even be atheist, right? But you're still part of a community. And so there are practices that emphasize your being part of a community, or even be a steward of the land, of the earth, that you're part, you have a purpose here. I think that's really important.
I feel the need to say amen.
Amen.
Amen to that, right? So thank you, guys. This has been a great discussion. I'm usually in bed by like 9:30, so that's why I'm rubbing my head now, because I'm thinking about my shower and my comfy mattress at home. I really appreciate you coming here to have this discussion with me. Not one person knows everything. I would never go and try to and have this talk on my own, because there's so much we don't know. We don't know. There's a lot I don't know. So we all helped one another fill in those information gaps. I enjoyed having you on stage. Did you guys enjoy them? Yay! So guys, thank you again for joining me on the couch. You do this, you come, you listen, you interact, and you DM, and you tell me the things that you like and what you want to hear more of. Tonight you heard about the alternative interventions, holistic health. I hope it was helpful to you. You might want to buy some sound bowls, but if not, just find yourself a sound therapist. Go see a medicinal cannabis certifier. Go see someone about beehive or beekeeping therapy. The point is, keep your options open. Think outside of the box. Everything cannot be treated with a pill or psychotherapy. You have to be creative in life. We didn't do any meditation or any yoga, but of course you know from my other seminars and my other chats that those too are included in alternative interventions. Brain love.
For more brain love on the couch with board certified psychiatrist Dr. Delvena, make sure you follow on Instagram at Dr. Dr. Delvena, and at DRT Brain Love. Also, make sure you tune into the Brain Love podcast, airing each and every Sunday at 8 p.m. with a new episode on all podcast platforms.